We have here Jorge's post where he tells us it would be a great day to see the effect of energy imports from France during solar hours on national solar PV curtailment. What is curtailment? Here we have the daily forecast for tomorrow for solar PV, which is the yellow line. We have almost 28,000 at peak hour around 3 p.m. But what happens? In the scheduled generation, PBF, day ahead, market, blue line, we have 17,000 here. But it turns out that the final scheduled P48, which is the closest to what's actually produced, at that specific 3 p.m. hour, we have 13,000. So there's a lot of curtailment, but the important thing is to see how we analyze the effect of imports from France, especially because we end up paying even more money to export that surplus energy to France. And here we'd be importing nuclear, and there are prices that suggest the system is poorly designed. There's something to review. So if you're not that familiar with the sector, how could you figure out what Jorge is referring to in this kind of brilliant analysis he does? We have a tool where we can paste the post directly. In fact, here we do it. We add the image and also the analysis. And I say, can you do an analysis of what Jorge says in this post? We paste it in, and what does the chat do? It searches the available tools. I'll leave you a link so you can see how to install it. It's not entirely free right now, as we are still validating the tool, and we explain step by step how to install it. And what can you do with it? We see here that the chat tool searches through all the indicators from Red Electrica, solar PV generation P48, then searches for international exchange with France, and here it gets those indicators. With each indicator, it will request the information from the database. Here we see it filters by the specific date that also appears in the image. And with all those numbers, it analyzes in detail the conclusions Jorge provides in his analysis. But not only that, it also creates charts to better interpret the results and get a panoramic view of what's happening. Not only that, but we can also keep asking questions about that same analysis. For example, here, how to dig deeper. And here the chat gives us several ideas based on the collected information. I tell it to go straight to the steps, and here it even gives me other conclusions with other types of charts, even interactive ones. I can click here on the generation mix and see what's happening at each hour. Also the captured price and historical trend, as we have here in the charts. And it's also able to do an analysis with conclusions based on the conclusions Jorge also reaches and going deeper. Then I also keep asking new questions, like this analysis is focused on one day, but how do we expand it to improve the analysis? Here it already gives us a proposal for a long-time series. January through April 2026, it asks me a series of questions. I tell it a full year up to April 2026. And here it gives me other types of charts with several conclusions: weekly pattern, price, and curtailment. And since the tool is connected, having access to the entire database in the esios chat with all the indicators, it can create these kinds of charts to dive deeper into the analysis, so I can get a more accurate perspective on the analysis Jorge does as a starting point and dig deeper into the things I might not understand. And that way I gain a broader perspective on the problems in the energy sector. And questions like this you can come up with or any other, because it has access to the database information, esios indicators, and can review new questions with the results, new analysis to perform, how to go deeper, and even ask the AI to give you improvement proposals for the sector, or if you have generation plans, how they affect yours. And it also gives you conclusions cross-referencing your situation. Remember, very easy to install. I think the video is no longer than 3 minutes to install this step-by-step tool we have here in esios connectors, the Red Electrica database, all the indicators, and do this type of analysis very comfortably using natural language. For example, if you start a new conversation, which we can do right now, here I can say, for example, analyze how energy prices are today, how technologies influence them, and do an analysis of whether there might be inconsistencies in the system regarding interconnections with other countries. I ask it, hit enter, and now, since the chat is connected to the esios tool, which is what we see here on screen, esios will connect, and let's see what conclusions we get. First, it loads the available tools. I have several, how they match up. Then here it starts searching for indicators. Then the query, selecting, for example, here for each hour for today's date, the price, which is indicator 600. Then it starts searching with other types of queries. Continues with 600. Here it's changing the geo because it's other countries. It must be doing that interconnection analysis there. Here, for example, solar PV and wind generation. And after getting all the results, which are numerically quantified, here, for example, it's already using France's capacity, import and export. Here it gets the numbers for each one. It will do the analysis and set up a chart to understand how the situation is analyzed from a visual perspective. Here it starts adding buttons. You can click to change the chart. It's preparing, for example, spot prices, the generation mix, border flows and inconsistencies. Here we see that, for example, the average daily price is 30.4 euros per megawatt in Spain. The minimum is 0 euros from 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. because of solar Although right now here in Salamanca it's all cloudy. I'm not sure if that'll change. And we have the day's maximum at 11 p.m., 118 euros. Let's see when the chart finishes. In this chart we have Spain, blue line, where, for example, in the morning the price is similar to France. Then France does have a higher price at 10 a.m., but precisely during solar hours we see Spain actually has a higher price than France, where we even have minus 10 euros per megawatt hour. If we then look at the generation mix, we can see here for Spain how it's going in real time, because right now it's 1 a.m. If we look at the border flows, here we have the visualization for Morocco and France. And then the inconsistencies, which are the analysis the AI does by querying precise data directly from esios in our database and API optimized so that AI systems can interact with this data dynamically and efficiently. So all these analysis and many more, whatever you can think of, you can do with the tool. Check the link I'll leave in the description to install it. It's free. And start running your first analysis. Cheers, and I hope you liked it. If you have more analysis you'd like covered in a video, leave them in the comments and we'll do it. Thanks.